3 brand new sub EZAs, but how should you build their hidden potential? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan battle video. In today's video, we are taking a look at the Android 16 Extreme AGL Cell Jr. and the Agl Super Vegeta. These are 3 sub EZAs that were introduced during this year's Saiyan Day campaign, and in this video we're going to talk about how to build each of their hidden potentials, because they're actually pretty decent, and depending on your build, you're going to see varying levels of success with them. So let's start with the Android 16, right? He is greatly raising his defense on his super attack, while also massively lowering the enemy's defense. On his passive, he's got Key 2 and attack and defense 160. He has guaranteed guard and an additional attack and defense 80% when attacking. He has a high chance of performing a critical hit after receiving an attack, and reduced damage received by 16% whenever that guard is activated. He can get up to 48% damage reduction this way. So right, that's pretty good. Guard and just about 50% damage reduction. So basically each time he gets hit, that damage reduction builds up. He's also got an additional attack 80% and defense 160, and gives allies Key 3 and attack defense 58% when your team has a Super Saiyan Gohan or Super Saiyan 2 Gohan attacking in the same turn. So this is really interesting, right? Because when we look at, for example, his 200% leaders, his only 200% leader is the AGL Cell or Powerful Comeback, which actually I think LR Gohan is on, right? Let's pull up the category over here real quick. Powerful Comeback. Explosion. Oh, this is the JP version. Powerful Revival, that's what it's called. Right, so is Gohan? No, Gohan is not on here. Super Saiyan 2, this Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is not on here. So you would have to run a different category for that. However, he is on the big one, which is Androids and Android Cell Saga, right? This is the main one you're going to be running when you want to run them. Now, he doesn't fit on any of the 200% leaders besides this one, but he is on Super Trunks' team, who you might be running. Most people aren't probably running AGL Cell. So if you wanted to run Super Trunks and you needed an android, you needed a character that not only has guard, but you wanted to run this guy, you have now a guaranteed way to transform Gohan. No longer waiting till turn 6 for that silly active skill transformation. You just bring this 16, who's actually good and can hold his own, and now you have a way to transform this Gohan. So really nice there, but that's not what we're really concerned about, right? We're talking about how to build his hidden potential. Looking at what he's doing, right? He is greatly raising defense. He needs to get hit to build his damage reduction. I think the answer is quite clear here, right? Looking at our hidden potential system, as an int type, right, he has a natural 5% evasion to begin with, or 10% evasion of 5 ability node, right? So you definitely don't want to be going that way. You want to take advantage of what he can do well. He's got built-in critical hit once he gets attacked, 50% mind you, but right, he also greatly raises his defense. So if you add a double stack onto that, right, so if you fill out full additionals on him as an int type, he can get up to 15, which equates to 30%. Full additionals will give him a 50% defense raise each turn, so 100% defense raise each turn, guard, and then 16% damage reduction up to 48%, right? You're talking about a highly defensive unit and a great viable option to run a team with Trunks and with Gohan and be able to easily activate their transformation conditions, because you won't be taking too much damage with this guy. I mean, there are other options, right? You don't need the extra attack and defense. I mean, although it's helpful for him with the damage reduction in the guard, he's going to be rocking pretty solid anyways, right? He's going to work well on an Android's team, like with the on 21's team, for example. On on 21's team next to the LR androids, going to be really, really good. Like, that would be a solid rotation right there, these two together. And then 16 when he transforms, right? Going to be very, very powerful there. Going to provide some much needed slot 1 cover for the androids team, even without that extra 160 attack and defense. So very, very good there. Moving on, the other sub EZA we have is the AGL Cell Juniors. Now, on these guys, they are raising attack and defense for the turn and lowering the enemy attack and defense. On their passive, they get 150% attack and defense. They have an additional 30% and chance of evading enemies' attack, including super attack. 10% per artificial life forms category on the team. So on an androids or cell team, they're going to be getting an extra, what is that, 210% if you've got a full team right there. So pretty good there. They also give artificial life forms 30% attack defense and key 3. They launch an additional attack that has a high chance of becoming a super attack. They launch an additional attack that randomly changes key spheres of a certain type to rainbow when your team has a cell or a perfect cell. This rainbow orb changing is huge, especially for the int LR cell. That dude struggles for key, even AGL cell early on. So having a rainbow orb changer like this is really, really helpful to help those guys just kind of change those rainbow orbs and help them get their full super attacks and take full advantage of them. And they're actually pretty good, right? They've got a bunch of additionals built in. They have a 30% attack defense raise on their super attack. So looking at that, there's a couple different ways that I think none of them are actually wrong, right? They are AGL, which means they have a natural 5 in their combo attack. So first you could go the more defensive route and go combo attack for them, additional attack, and get them up to 20, which equates to an additional 40% chance to do another super. So looking at that, right, they're greatly raising their attack for the turn, their defense for the turn 30%. They're launching an additional attack with a 50% chance. So that's one raise there. They have another additional attack when you have a cell, so that's 4 possible super attacks they can do, all of them raising their attack and defense up to 30% for the turn. So that makes them a really, really solid floating option for the artificial life form / androids team. So definitely wouldn't be wrong to pick up some additional attack if you've got these guys. You could give them critical hits since they don't have any built-in critical hits, but their damage as a sub EZA isn't going to be the best, so taking the critical hit probably isn't benefiting you a whole lot, except helping you break through some of those high defense enemies. But even then, you probably got other bigger attackers besides them, so taking more advantage of their additional and defensive ability may be the way to go. But if you were to go for a critical hit to make up for that, you have a maximum of a 30% chance if you activate all critical hit nodes. The other option that I also don't think is wrong is evasion on these guys, right? If you don't feel like the extra 30% on the additional super is all right, maybe you could do a full evasion. As an AGL type, they can get up to 15% to extra evasion, and hey, that is a really low chance, and I don't often make the recommendation that you forego that or you choose that over another better ability for them. But in this case, I don't really think it matters for them in the grand scheme of things, especially if you go additional and evasion mix, right? This way you can take advantage on the defense in case you miss, and then take advantage on the evasion if they should possibly take a hit. You've got a 50% chance to miss it altogether. So for them, neither one I think is the wrong build. Either could be seen as viable depending on your setup. And that leaves us with the final sub EZA, the Agl Super Vegeta. This guy causes supreme damage to the enemy, seals super attack, and raises attack for 9 turns. So no defensive attack on his super attack. He does have attack defense 150%. He has an additional 100% when performing a super attack, and if the HP is 50% or less when performing a super attack, he performs a critical hit. He has an additional attack that has a 70% chance of becoming a super attack. He reduces damage received by 30%. He has an additional damage reduction of 20% when HP is 70% or less, and an additional 20% when 50% or less, and an additional 20% when 30% or less. So he gets more defensive as you receive more damage. He also gives allies Key 1 and attack and defense 25%, and an additional Key 2 and attack and defense 25% for AGL, STR, and Fizz type. So honestly, he's really good, right? He's actually pretty tanky. He has all that crazy damage reduction. If you're low on HP, he can be very helpful. But the question is, how do you build his hidden potential? Personally, for me, I would say, since he has no guaranteed additional super attacks, you may want to take advantage of that. Now, he's not getting a whole lot out of it other than some extra attack, which he can take advantage of. And he's also got built-in critical hit if you're below 50% HP. So I would say probably the priority for him would be additional, netting him an extra 20 in, which means 40% in the hidden potential system, going full additional, and then supplementing with the critical hit. His damage can end up working well because of the extra buffs he's getting. His damage could end up working well, and you can take advantage of that critical hit. As an AGL type, he can get up to about, what would that be, 22% here. I think 11 is the max he can get if you go full additionals. So it's still going to be very helpful there. Evasion could work, but I feel at this point with this enemy, or with this card rather, you're hurting him in his damage output and his defensive ability the more you add on evasion. Again, this is one of those times where the 15% chance to evade just isn't worth the trade-off of what you're giving up with the other two. He is one that will definitely end up needing those. So guys, that is it for our video. That is our recommendation on the hidden potential for this sub EZAs. Again, with 16, I would prioritize additional. With AGL Cell Jr., there's not really a wrong answer, but personally I would prioritize critical hit and then additional, maybe dodge instead of additional, but definitely get some crit in there since they don't have any built in. And then finally with AGL Vegeta, I would definitely go additional and then supplement crit. I don't think you want the dodge on him simply because you want to be taking advantage of what little he is providing. So guys, that's it for the video. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. In the comments down below, let me know, how did you build the 3 sub EZAs? Do you have them ready, max links already, rainbow status, or are you somebody who just pulled some of these guys recently and are currently building them? Let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, guys, as always, thanks for watching, and aloha.